To the election. The 2020 election unfolded smoothly across the country and without any widespread irregularities. According to state officials and election experts, including those in Republican states, a stark contrast to the baseless claims of fraud being leveled by Donald Trump following his defeat. That's the lead to an AP story that comes from Atlanta and was posted at their website at 8 o'clock this morning, November 11th. And the experts are saying that the large increase in in advance voting, apparently over 100 million people voted early in person and by mail. I know I did. But that large increase in advance voting helped take pressure off Election Day operations. And this surprises me. There were also no incidents of violence at the polls, and there was no voter intimidation. I guess it surprises me because I buy into the bullshit from these lard-ass, beard-wearing, stupid-looking shitheads who wander around with their AR-15s talking about, oh, we're going to open up a state of Michigan. We're going to kidnap the governor. Jesus Christ, these people turn my stomach. But because they look so threatening, I realize every one of them is a dickless coward. I understand that. As far as the women are concerned who are in these militia groups, of course, they would be dickless. But I'm talking about the men. They personify the worst of cowardice, these displays of personal might, none of which is based on their own strength, all of which is based on the fact that they got the big guns, motherfucker. I got the gun. Pardon me. Sorry to let that MFer drop in, but Ben Hovland, a Democrat appointed by Trump to serve on the Election Assistance Commission, which works closely with officials on election administration. This guy's job is about to end for sure when you hear what he said. This is what Ben Hovland said, quote, "The 2020 general election was one of the smoothest and most well-run elections that we have ever seen, and that is remarkable considering all the challenges," end quote. Oh, well, fire his ass, right, ape? But the orange bastard, after Biden kicked his ass, the orange bastard has tried to discredit the integrity of the election. And all the people who have been working their asses off 12, 14, 16 hours a day, some of them around the clock, to tally the votes. And the orange bastard has made a big point with no evidence at all because it doesn't exist, that the results will be overturned. I'm the winner. Me, me, me. And then these stinking neo-fascist lawmakers, members of the American Fascist Party, have said that the orange bastard should be allowed to launch legal challenges, which he's done. And most of those have already been turned away by judges. And the lawsuits that do remain don't include evidence of problems that would change the outcome of the race. Some of the lawsuits are like, well, they wouldn't let enough of us in to witness the counting. Oh, really? Oh, poor baby. What would you like me to do? Well, we want the whole election called off. What? You just weren't allowed in to watch the counting and you want the election called off? Yeah. Would you, in place of that, would you take a handful of candy? Okay. Stick that in your AR-15, you dumb shits. In Wisconsin, a battleground state where Biden defeated Trump, not by very much, by God, top election official Megan Wolf in Wisconsin said there were no problems with the election reported to her office, and no complaints filed alleging any irregularities. Oh my God. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, a Democrat, said the same was true in Michigan, which Biden also won. She said, quote, "Let me be clear. The November elections in Michigan ran as smoothly as ever. There were no instances of irregularities in the process of counting the votes. Only evidence-free allegations, wild speculation, and conspiracy theories." Yeah, and of course all that bullshit comes from the cucumber types, right? Those lard-ass, ugly son of a bitches walking around in their quasi-military uniforms and their AR-15s, burping and farting their way across the Capitol Rotunda in Michigan. You bunch of swine. And then, of course, if you remember, before Election Day, the pandemic and the inability of the orange bastard to do anything about leadership, it all upended longstanding voting plans, and it forced election officials to make systemic changes. I mean, they had to go at the very core of how we vote, and they had to do it on the fly. And they did so with very little federal money to cover increased costs for mail ballots, which take more staff and more money to send, to process, and to count. And the Trump bastard? Oh, no money for you. No money for you. Hoping, as this orange son of a bitch would hope, that would decrease the number of Democratic votes for his opponent. Well, guess what, you orange, ugly bastard, you? It didn't work. You're out. Get the hell out of town, Trump. God. And then another, the problems erupted during the spring primaries, if you remember. Machines wouldn't work, counts didn't work, this didn't work, that didn't work. And a lot of us worried whether election officials could pull off a problem-free presidential election during a pandemic while confronting the threat of foreign interference and our own homegrown terrorist son of a bitches who wander around with their guts hanging out, nothing between their legs but their big AR-15s cradled in their arms like the little baby Jesus, right? Huh? Larry Norden, an election expert with the Brennan Center for Justice, said, quote, "In the spring, there were just so many challenges we were facing, and we were just wondering how we were going to manage to do it in the fall. It's an incredible story," end quote. And if you remember, long before the first ballot was cast, the orange bastard started squeaking about the integrity of the election and yelped and farted and wheezed against mail voting, despite a long history of mail ballots being used successfully in this country. Think of the military. What the hell has the military been doing ever since forever? They vote by mail, Trump, but Trump wanted those ballots thrown out. If you're in the military and you've been a Trump supporter, it's astonishing. You are voting against yourself. This son of a bitch didn't even want your vote counted, soldier, sailor, Marine, Air Force person, Coast Guard, wherever you're stationed. This rancid orange bastard did not want you to have a say in the next president. He wanted your ballot thrown out, trashed, destroyed. And he's your commander-in-chief? Oh, my God. So after all those problems in the spring, there was a lot of concern about what was going to happen in November, and it didn't happen. Now, the states that expanded mail-in voting were trying to make it safer to cast a ballot during the virus outbreak. And some of those states leaned Republican and voted for Trump. Nebraska, North Dakota, Montana. He's raised no concerns about the voting there, have you noticed? But Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, ooh, fraud. But in the states that use mail-in voting or direct balloting by going to the polls or scratching your vote on a tree trunk or whatever you did, those states, as long as the vote went for the orange bastard, no problem. Oh my. And then on Monday, this filthy skunk, William Barr, Trump's lawyer, who poses as the Attorney General of the United States but is not, this bastard authorized federal prosecutors across the country to probe what the bloated little prick called substantial allegations of voting irregularities. It's just not going to stop, is it? Well, I'm here to tell you that, yes, it is going to stop. Like Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcasts. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.